Hello and welcome back to The Spotter. Today I'm joined by another special guest and a very good friend of mine, Macauley Morrice. I'm going to say your full name there. It sounds weird me saying that because everyone calls you Macca.
Yeah.
And everyone will, well, I hope that most people tuning in will know who this guy is. Very, very well known and established online coach in the bodybuilding world, lifestyle coaching world, and is a very well established posing coach as well. So Macca, thank you for jumping on the podcast. Obviously,
Anytime, mate. Anytime.
it's an important message I'm trying to get out there with The Spotter, and you coming on and being willing to talk about things that are going on in your life, things that you've been through. It's only going to help other people, I hope.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to try and get a little bit out of you and talk about your experience, because obviously I know things that have been going on in your life, and I guess a lot of people that be tuning in will hopefully know some of the things as well, and maybe are tuning in to hear about that in detail.
Yeah, for sure.
But if we circle back round and just talk about your background, what got you into what you're doing now, because you are, like, let's have it right, you're one of, if not the top men's physique posing coach out there. You that's quite a high accolade to pop against your name. Yeah.
I think with that, like, obviously we'll go into me in the set, but like with regards to like that sort of like statement, which is obviously very, very nice. I got into men's physique posing because I absolutely love men's physique.
Yeah.
And I still very much see it like that. Like, I'm not, like how you see like some posing coaches that they're almost like focused on the reels and the dramatization of posing and the transitions. It's just not me. Like, I'm not interested in interactions. I'm not interested in likes. I just love the division. I love helping people. Like taking, like, for example, with yourself, like when we took you from where you were to where you then got to on stage. Like, your posing was phenomenal. So like, it's one of those where I like seeing people from start to finish. And I love the division. I study it almost as a fucking job at this point. So yeah,
I know you do, and I've seen that as well. And I thought I liked men's physique, but when I speak to you, and when I did last year, I realised, okay, this guy knows his shit. Like, you watch all the shows. I don't watch all the shows, but you watch all the shows. You follow all the news. You follow all the athletes, and you study each of them as well. So that is what makes you a master of your craft, as it would with anyone. That's what you should be doing.
And the thing is, like, you need to like continuously keep yourself up to date with absolutely everything. Like, even like with the judging criteria, it's forever changing. Like, when people go, oh, like, what do they look for in physique? I'm like, well, typically it's this, but if you go from show to show basis, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the Olympia, everyone's thinking Ryan's going to win. He probably will, but I would not be surprised if there's any of those top 10 winning, because the criteria just change all the time. Ryan could shift down a couple places, someone else could come in. Like, it's a federation that's it's a category that's changing all the time. And I think you have to stay on top of it in terms of what's going on, what the judge is looking for. I think those videos that Tyler Mannion does are very, very good.
Yeah,
where he explains exactly why people have placed where, and how they can improve going forwards. Because I think we can take a lot from that as individual athletes ourselves as well. So
I think that's what athletes want as well.
For sure.
Going away and doing your own research is one thing, but actually hearing from federations and the top people about, top judges, what do we want to see? It makes it easier for the athlete to understand.
Exactly. And it's obviously different from country to country as well. Like, let's say you're an amateur going for a pro card. This sport is very subjective. You almost have to find the looks and the judges that like your type of look.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to, emphasize on that and see where it goes. And then obviously that might change, and then you might have to go further afield. It's just and that's what I love about it. It's just there's so many different caveats to it. It's not just like one. It's not like football. Whoever scores the most goals wins.
Yeah,
there's so many different nuances to it, which I absolutely love. So
no, I agree. It's a complicated game, and obviously getting to the position you're in now, you've had many athletes come your way. Me being one of them. Like last year, you completely changed my posing, and I can quite confidently say I was a bang average poser beforehand. I won my first show back in 2022, but my posing was just not good enough. And obviously the caliber of
again, I think that's really good of you to say that, because you could have won a show and been like, yeah, I'm top dog.
Nah, never.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, there's all, like I said to myself about myself, there's all, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to get out of that room. Like, consistently trying to level yourself up as an athlete is credit to you, mate, and it's exactly where you should be in this sport.
Yeah, that's what keeps you, exactly, evolving. So, come 2024, when I, took you on after, and I'd always been made aware of you anyway, and I'd followed you for a while, but I was like, I'm going to I'm going to inquire with this guy. And we hit it off straight away. I
Yeah.
realized you were passionate about this, but where does that come from? Because you're young, you're a dad now as well. You're running 2 businesses. So where did that love for bodybuilding come from, and wanting to help people? Like, what got you into it? And I know obviously a lot of us, it's quite a similar story, but for you it might be completely different. So where did that
This is a
originate from?
really, really weird and just unrelated story.
Yeah.
I was about 17, 18, and I was on a driving lessons with my driving instructor, and he was talking to me about another, like, I suppose you say client of his, who was also driving at the same time. He was telling my driving instructor about like bodybuilding and like how he gets tanned and up on stage, and I literally said to him, I was like, I'm never going to do that. Like, that is not me in the slightest.
Little did he know.
Literally, mate. And then ever since that day that I had that conversation with him, I was like, well, let me see like what this is like. I used to play football like really competitively, like to a fairly high level.
Yep.
And it was like, it was that cliche story. I kept getting injured, but basically, yeah, like I had 2 knees that were absolutely fucked from Osgood Slatters, and it kind of just led me to a path where I just wasn't enjoying football anymore. And I started getting to the gym, and then I never wanted to compete, but I was just intrigued by it. And it wasn't until probably like 2019 where I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and she was competing.
Yep.
And she took me to see like her coach, and he was like, you've got really good potential, you should compete. And I didn't really understand anything about it. I knew little bits, but I wasn't, as well versed as I am now. And like, it was never a plan for me to compete or be in the industry that I'm in. It kind of just like snowballed. Like, I got into the gym. I love training, and because I love training, that's like kind of next. It's like when you start football or whatever sport you do. You start because of the love of it and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, let's go play a match, or let's do a competition swimming or whatever it may be. And then you pick it up, and over time of training and improve my physique, I was like, okay, let's give this a whirl.
Yeah.
And then my first show was in 2020. So my first show was prep during lockdown.
Yeah, COVID year.
Horrendous, mate.
Yeah. I mean, there was so much going on around that time anyway, so trying to commit to a prep.
Obviously, I was training a fucking... Can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, cool. Because it comes out of my mouth every now and then. Yeah, I was training at home and everything like that. Obviously, you couldn't do anything else. Didn't want to buy like loads of extortionate kit. Anyway, ended up paying, I think it was like £20 a day to train at like this private shed that no one was supposed to know about, but there was quite a few of us that knew about. And you could only go in there individually as one person, and you had to wipe down everything before you leave.
Blimey, okay.
But you got it for an hour.
Nice.
So during COVID, obviously, I lost my whole business because I was a PT at the time as well. So I rinsed all my savings on rent and bills and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, put myself in debt going to this gym. So I was like,
He wanted it so much, yeah.
Honestly, I probably spent about £800 on this place between lockdown, just like £800 in debt. Because my whole business pretty much went to shit because I was a PT.
On that though, how did you feel after that? Because obviously, how long were you a PT before that?
I started PTing when I was 18.
So young, really, then.
Yeah.
So by the time you'd hit, that year of, end of 2019 going into 2020, we're hit with that lockdown. Did you lose it almost overnight? Like everyone's like, well, I can't. So
yeah, like kind of like it was obviously that initial feeling like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Like I might have to get a new job, and I was adamant I wasn't getting a new job. At this point, there was no government funding for self-employed. Like literally nothing. Like there was absolutely nothing you could get. So I used all my savings, and eventually that government money came through. So that would basically just cover my rent, my phone bills, and that gym unit.
Yeah.
But up until that point, like it was with me. Like I'm very stubborn. I was like, I ain't doing another job. And this it sounds really snobby. I was like, I'm not going to work at Sainsbury's. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I basically just like did a little bit of online coaching, which picked up just through like being kind of a little bit of a voice to like whoever my followers were at the time. And I was prepping. So like I basically just documented that journey, picked up a few clients, and that kind of just saw me through.
You were your own advert. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously once lockdown was lifted, just to go back, I competed. It was the month of, it might have been September or October, but basically Two Boys put on a show, and it ended up being what they call an open pro qualifier, which is the British finals. And Tyler Smith was there, Hader. A lot of people I competed against are all pros.
Yeah.
And I was literally the smallest fish in the biggest pond. Like, these guys were just heavily muscled,
What an
conditioned.
experience, though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it was like I couldn't have anyone in the audience. There was basically no audience. You couldn't like pump up together. Like, there was all like these little like designated spots. It was a weird experience, and I kind of wish I'd waited to compete. But at that point now, where I'm at now, I'm like, it was probably the right decision in terms of like timeline, because would I be where I am now without taking those sort of steps? And then once lockdown lifted, I went back to PTing for a bit, and then ended up quitting PT because I was at a gym group, so I was PTing for like another 5-6 years whilst trying to build up like some online coaching clients. And then it got to a point where I was sick of teaching classes. I hated them. Couldn't stand them. Like, I'll always be like positive, motivational when you're doing classes, but I couldn't stand teaching legs, bums, and tums anymore. Like, there's only so many variations of squats you can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I ended up like leaving that. Like, oh God, it must be like 3 years ago now. Yeah, probably about 3 years ago, because when I prepped in 2022, which was the second time, I was just leaving it. Yeah, so it's been a roller coaster, mate. It's been a roller coaster.
So it's not like you had quite an organic, journey into bodybuilding then, which is quite nice to hear that.
I didn't go searching for it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like, obviously, I fell in love with men's physique because I fell in love with Jeremy Bundia. Like, that's who I was like, that physique.
Well, he was the poster boy.
He was the poster boy, and then obviously whatever happened with him happened.
I know,
and he kind of went away. But I just loved his look, and I was like, if I can create that look, like, or anything remotely similar to it, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And I just started watching men's physique more and more and more. Like, even during 2020, there was a guy called, not sure if you remember him, called Hart McGrath.
Yeah.
And he was covering men's physique. This is when he had like 3,000 subscribers. And I was falling in love with the sport. I was literally like trying to search like men's physique, like show days, or men's physique this, men's physique that. Came across Hart McGrath when he had like 3K subscribers. And then I literally just watched him religiously. Absolutely fell in love with it. And then basically just never looked back. And then obviously was just training my physique. My clients at the time were more lifestyle based. But I wasn't bothered, because I was like, men's physique, like, this is what I want to do. And then when I competed in 2022, and I did relatively well, like won overall, etc.
Yep.
I posted my posing routine on Instagram. Probably from that, I got about 5 inquiries. I was like, fucking hell, this is
where you were starting thinking, hold on, maybe there's something to this.
And then, funny enough, Lewis from Pro Coach, Lewis Jones, sent me my first ever client, Joe Bennett. And I obviously did a really good job for him. He won. And he came third as well, so he had like pretty successful. And then, literally just snowballed from there. And now, like, a lot of the, to where I am now, a lot of the big coaches in the UK, like Pro Coach, condition coaches, Evolution, whoever it may be, like, send me their guys.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, it's funny. It came kind of organically came from just through word of mouth initially, and then it was just like I'd get another result, and it'd be like another 2 inquiries, and I'd be like, oh my God.
So it sort of, again, you didn't really have a chance to think. It just sort of happened. You were like, okay, maybe this is something to lean into.
And then initially, like, I won't lie. Like, obviously, I just left PT in. So like I lost about £1,500 in income from just not having those sessions.
You must have felt.
Oh yeah, I was stressed.
What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah, because I just moved. Me and Gabby just moved into a place. I was like, shit, like, how am I going to get this money back? Yeah. And eventually, like, I picked up a couple more online coaching clients, and then posing started to take off. And I was like, oh, well, if I can just have this as like a side hustle just to sort of float me through, then perfect. And then it took off. Going. Like, it didn't stop. And I think I openly said this on my story, like Instagram stories the other week. I was like, I took far too much on. Yeah. Like, I was so naive to the fact that how many people I was working, honestly, the year before you that joined me.
Yeah.
I think I worked with about 50 people within the space of like 3-4 months.
Wow. Okay.
And it was just like, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to like refund some people, and everything like that. So just because
that takes a lot to admit, though. By the way.
Mate, like, there was a point where my service was slipping. I wasn't happy with it. Like, it was just, it got to a point where I was like, I realised I've taken too much on. I need to pull this back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, because like, we all make mistakes. Like, I'm not this perfect human. Like, it was the first time I'd ever had that. Like, I've never ever had that amount of
you're going to
people
want to
coming
bite
to.
the hand off. Yeah, of course
Yeah,
you
I
are.
was like,
Yeah,
oh my god, this is so exciting! Like, so
yeah,
many people want to work for me, and I just took took far too much on, and then just to sort of scale things back, I did increase my prices after like results were going really well because I was like,
yeah.
well, if I can, if the price is right for people, they'll pay it, and if they don't, then that's fine. Like, I'm not
Agreed.
like chasing people at that point. And then that the price point was right, and then it kind of just slowed down. But a lot of the people who were buying from me were buying like 4 or 5. Like you, I think you paid for like 4 blocks. I think.
I did. Yeah,
Like, and those were the type of people I wanted. I wanted people who are really invested in men's physique and their posing because that's what I was really passionate about.
yeah.
And yeah, it sort of like led me to where I am today, mate. To be fair,
It's nice to hear because for myself, and we've been speaking about this. Obviously, I've got future aspirations to build something, but I'm in that position of stable career, have worked up in this area, but I want to do something completely different, and I'm laying the foundations.
yeah.
But that's quite a big step, isn't it? Because
Mm.
obviously, from hearing from you, it does fill me with confidence. I know things can work, and I know I'm a passionate individual. I love
I
this
think
sport.
if I'm being honest, I think you're doing it the right way.
Yeah,
I think unless you're really young and you're living at home and you've got no sort of like
yeah,
financial commitments, I think the best thing you can do is be in a job,
just
work
build.
alongside it,
Yeah,
because you have no stress.
yeah,
Like you're financially secure. This is like a nice side hustle that you're passionate about,
100%.
and over time that builds up. Your other job comes down, and then
Yeah,
at a point you can leave.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
exactly.
you've given both things everything you've got, and then as well as I think a lot of people think they go into online coaching, think that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
They get into realize how hard it is without supported income and the fact that you have to almost treat it like a full-time job, or you do have
yeah.
to do that, and they're like, oh, I can't do this.
Well, and also I don't think people realise that you are at. When I don't want to work a desk job, it's like, but you're going to be at your desk for a long period of time. Like
You have to force yourself to go up the steps, otherwise you ain't
yeah.
getting them done.
It's I don't think I think this whole glorification of online coaching has happened because there's been over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, there's been like individuals like making X amount or posing to be this extremely successful person that can go across abroad and work abroad. It's such a great lifestyle, but realistically, you have people's goals in your hand.
Yeah,
It's a very delicate. I think it's a very delicate career.
I've had clients in the past, like when I was at my current sort of set point in coaching knowledge,
Yeah,
where they come to me with a few problems. I'm like, look, I love coaching you, but this is a bit too far for me. Like, I'm
yeah,
not that well versed, and I've sent clients on to other coaches I trust. So like, it's hard because obviously when you don't have loads of clients, you're like, like I need this income,
of
but at the
course.
same time, it's also like morally you need to do what's right.
Yeah,
So and I think from that, there's a lot more respect for you that comes from other coaches that then they see you as a good person.
yeah.
You build more of a profile. These types of things also help. So yeah, I agree, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And it's just nice to hear that you've built an organic journey. You've built your business or businesses to where they are now, and you are reaping hopefully you're reaping the rewards in that regard. You're being respected. You're
Yeah,
known
yeah.
in the industry, I would say as well. But again, like you said, it hasn't come easy. You've had to
No,
build it up.
and it's still don't get me wrong. Like it's still not easy. Like there's some months where I'm like, oh, like I'm not earning as much as I was like last month,
Yeah,
but at this point I'm just like it's the nature of the game.
yeah, of
Just like
course.
just keep cracking on, just keep posting content, and it'll follow suit.
Well, with building your own business,
Mm.
has there ever been worries? Because obviously you're a family man. You've got children as well. You've got a partner. As you said, you've got your own place.
Yeah.
Has there been worries across that period? Like, were you building this up when you had your children really young as well?
What, the coaching and the posing?
Yeah,
Well, the coaching was obviously before
yeah,
because I was 18, 19. But ever since the kids have been born, which was 2 years ago,
yeah.
in June, I should know, 2nd of June, 2023. Ever since then, like my priorities and how I see myself and what I do for my businesses is all for them.
Yeah,
Like when I said about like how I took 20 people on, I was just
yeah.
working. I was just working. There was a year of shows, and I'm a big advocate of going to shows. I went to like 27 shows across that
Wow.
year for posing coaching
Yeah,
clients. 16 of them were back to back every single weekend, and
that's insane.
this is when the kids were born.
Yeah,
And it's like trying to juggle because like when you have kids, and I don't mind saying this, one, you struggle as a man, especially,
Yep.
you will struggle to build a bond with them because all they want is the mum, because that's what they've had for 9 months.
It's natural. Yeah.
You will feel like a loss of self because you're like, well, I need to be a dad, but I also need to work. So like trying to balance that is really, really hard. So I definitely found that difficult when they were born. Is like, okay, how do I balance this? And I definitely didn't balance it well at all.
Yeah.
And over time, obviously, that's improved. And
Of course.
being a dad, like you are learning on the job 24/7.
Yeah.
Like what you think they like, they don't like. What they want, they don't want. What you
Hardest
think
job in the world.
what you think you want, no. Like I said, since they've been born, I couldn't care less about what car I have. I used to care about. I want a nice car. I want this. I want nice clothes. I want nice whatever it may be. I couldn't give a fuck now. I'd be happy to live in like tracksuit bottoms for the rest of my life because as long as they've got what they want, I've built a life for them where they can effectively do what they want and what they enjoy. That's all I care about. And it's mad, like everyone tells you, like when you have kids, your priorities change. They do, they do. And there's nothing bad to say that if you don't have kids, your priorities can't be. I want a nice car, I want this.
Yeah.
If it's like I was like that, now I've had kids, my priorities have changed, and that's absolutely fine either way.
It's natural.
So, yeah,
It's
yeah.
You know, you've made a good point there as well. You've alluded to, you know, the role of the man in the relationship as well. So now with that, I kind of wanted to jump on that. Now, when you talk about, you know, having that bond with them and obviously wanting to juggle building something to provide for them, you know, to provide for Gabby as well, your partner, and then also, you know, be a dad. How did you get to a point where that becomes easy to balance? Because you've obviously had to work towards that. It's become easier.
In terms of like, how do I balance it now? They're a little bit more
because
settled.
Obviously they're, you know, both over 2 now.
So
you know, obviously that, you know, there's been a few years now you've learned as you've gone along. And obviously I guess your relationship with Gabby, I guess maybe that's had ups and downs as well, naturally.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like Gabby won't mind me mentioning, like when they were born, like we really struggled to like almost like reconnect back with each other.
Yeah.
Like actually remember, like we are a couple.
It was usually
like,
first. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was us first, and we need to prioritize quality time together.
Yeah.
We're very lucky in the fact we've got very supportive families that do help, which obviously but like takes a burden away from us a little bit.
Of course.
So like my mum and dad would have them because my mum and dad live up in Birmingham, so they see them as regularly. So like, when they'd have them maybe once every 3 weeks or whatever it may be, they have them from like a Thursday to a Sunday, or a Friday to a Sunday. So that worked out really well. Gabby's mum and dad have them every Tuesday. But obviously before then we didn't have any like we looked into nurseries for the kids because obviously we needed time to work on businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was going to cost us about £800 a month just for 3 days. It was just like, well, we work from home anyway. We can just make it work.
Yeah.
But luckily the government now do funding. So like we get 2 childcare days a week where they're in childcare.
Yeah.
Basically paid for. So we don't have to pay anything. And so they're basically in childcare from Monday through to Thursday effectively.
Okay.
So from Thursday to Sunday we have them. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday they're at childcare.
Yeah.
So that really works. But yeah, in terms of like balancing it, it was just a case of like I think as they get older, you move forward because I'm going to say this now: when they're first born, there is no structure.
Yeah.
Like people plan so much for routines and all these types of things, and the babies are crying at night. You're staying up.
Yeah.
Like plan to have no sleep, so that we kind of just mentally anticipated for it.
Yeah.
And then when we would have a good day, it'd be a really good day. When we kind of had a bad day, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So that really helped. And again, like I said, there's no real like when the kids are ill, they're ill. Like you have to adapt. So whether that meant me and Gabby are then working all night, but we know they're going childcare during the morning. So that morning we'll be like, right, let's go and train. Let's go for a walk. Let's do something for just us two.
For us, yeah.
And you kind of just like you just have the adaptability is where you balance things.
Yeah.
So you know, if me and Gabby then have like a night where right, babies are in bed at 7, we've got work to do. Let's work until 9. Then we'll get in bed. We'll watch something on TV, and then we'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then maybe like in the morning we'll do something different. And then yeah, it's just one of those, mate. It's just for like even when they get older, when they're like 5 or 6, that's my life's going to change again. Like my routine and my structure's going to change.
You've got stages, haven't you, to fatherhood?
Yeah, this is it.
Parenthood. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so like even like when I don't know how much you know about, but like when they're just born, kids go through like sleep regressions.
Okay.
And when you've got two of them, it's mad. So basically, what sleep regression is like their brains like developing a new skill.
Yeah.
So they're just not tired. They will just stay up all night. So like there was one night me and Gabby were up till about 4 a.m.
Right.
Like
Okay.
no sleep, and then we get up at 7 to then take them to childcare.
Yeah.
So like those nights have been like were always tough, and it would last for about 4 or 5 days. And then when they're ill, because we got twins, it's double the amount. So if an
Of
illness is
course.
4 days, it's 8 days.
Yeah.
If an illness is 10 days, it's 20 days. So like that side of things is tough, but I think you just have to remind yourself that you're in a good position. Like you are blessed to have two kids.
Of
Like
course.
and don't get me wrong, like it's hard, it's mentally tough. Like and sometimes I don't mind saying this. Like you almost feel like resentment to the kids because it's like I can't do what I want to do because of this.
Yeah.
But it's also like, and I hate saying that, but I think it's really important because a lot of dads don't. I spoke to another dad who's a friend of mine, and I said it, and he was like, "I'm so glad you said it because I feel it's that same." And it's hard because like you don't want to sound like you're ungrateful or you don't love them because obviously you do.
Yeah.
But it's hard trying to manage your feelings and emotions that are all still so new and raw.
Because I can imagine. Obviously, I'm not in that position, but I can imagine that you almost feel ashamed for thinking that way because you're like,
Yeah,
why should I feel resentment towards what's
exactly.
mine? It's not their fault. In that regard, like we are their parents. They rely on us. This is our role. But
Yeah,
in that sense, again, like you said, it's a learning curve, and I guess there is, as much as there are rule books and playbooks for everyone to prep beforehand, there is definitely there cannot be a way in which you could be truly prepared for having children.
no, you can do it. Like I said, you can do as much preparation as you want.
Yeah.
When it comes around, it's completely different. Like
Yeah.
it almost just goes all out the window. As they progress through their ages, yeah, you can install routine, some structure, but again, there's going to be nights where you don't have any sleep, or
Do you,
it's very very hard to manage day to day basis, and you kind of just got to just go right. Today's a bad day. Let's
yeah.
see what tomorrow brings. Let's
Yeah.
see how much work I can do today. If not, then
On to the
we'll see what
next. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Now, on that, you mentioned about the aspects of being a father as well in the
Yeah.
relationship. But do you think that? And I don't say this lightly, but this is just almost like an observation.
Mm.
You hear that stories of resentment. Partners losing their feelings for each other, or they're clashing quite a lot. Do you think that fathers have it almost tougher sometimes because they have to? Well, not necessarily have to. Again, I have to sort of balance what I'm saying here.
Yeah, go on.
Because the world we live in today is balanced. It's very equal, and I agree with it. But typically, as we've alluded to, children will be naturally attached to their mother because they've birthed them. They've
This is
been
it.
in them for
Yeah.
yeah,
This is it. And like I said, when they were first born, it's like you do struggle to build that attachment, like that
yeah,
quote unquote dad feeling towards them, because you're
yeah,
like, Gabby, my partner's had this building inside her stomach. Like she gets
yeah,
that feeling, that connection. And also it's like, how do I I don't know how to manage two twins or even one. Like,
yeah,
what do I do? But when
yeah,
Gabby had a C-section in the hospital, so she couldn't move.
yeah,
So I was in a good way, like thrown into the mix. Like I had to change all the nappies, I had to do their dressings, like everything along those lines. So that was good. That was good because I think
it's good for you.
if I didn't have that, and then I started feeling how I started to feel early on, I think I would have probably had a meltdown of some sorts and like probably feeling very sorry for myself. Like, why am I feeling like this? And I probably couldn't get myself out of it. But it's one of those. I think you're going to feel those feelings. You're going to feel resentment at times. You're going to feel like a lack of a bond or
Yeah.
lack of love potentially.
Well, it has to grow, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, don't get me wrong. Like when they were born, I loved them unconditionally. Always will.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes as men, like we are allowed to feel like a certain way. Like it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. That's why I don't mind openly speaking about stuff like that.
This is good. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, well, if I don't speak about it, like I said, when I spoke to my friend about it, he was like, "I'm so glad you said that because I feel the same way."
Yeah, but again, in that situation, it sounds like he had bottled it up, thought that he shouldn't speak about it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like, I think there are probably so many people, new dads, who feel like that, but just don't think they can feel like that because it is like, well, why would you struggle to build a bond with your kid? Why would you feel like you resent them? It's like, because life's hard. Life is hard, and you're entitled to feel how you feel. Like that's it.
Yeah, bang on. And, respect for you for saying that as well. I hope a lot of people take some comfort in what you said there. And if there was anything that you could say to, if there's any advice that you could give to maybe fathers out there feeling this way, what would you say? Would you say it's communication's key with your partner? Do you need to just
Just
be open?
open
Yeah.
line communication
Yeah.
every day, because those, like I said, those first initial, even I'd say up to a year
Yeah.
before they're even like starting to, the kids are starting to develop and walk and talk and all these sorts of things. Like, you're going to have probably very tireless nights.
Yeah.
When you don't sleep, you're going to be probably in high stress situations, especially if you're both self-employed,
Yeah, of
because you
course.
need to work to make money. Not that you don't need to work when you're employed, but you know what I mean. Like, your
Yeah.
job is on kind of
It's
on
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah, I would just say be vulnerable, be open, discuss your feelings, understand that it's all right to feel a certain way, and also like just try and ride the good days or the bad days.
Yeah.
Like, I always used to think, like, when I was having the bad day, I was like, well, what's gone well today? And also, like, those feelings or those quote unquote bad days are just temporary.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
it's not the end of the world. It is gonna get better, and then
Yeah.
and then it's gonna be good for a while, and then you're gonna have another couple bad days, and that's it. But yeah, I'd say just open line of communication for sure.
Yeah. No, awesome. That's
And
it's
just
a good takeaway.
just be in touch with your emotions.
Yeah. Well,
That's the biggest
again,
thing I felt like since becoming a dad. My emotions are so much more pure.
really.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Well, what do you just feel like you got in touch with
I'm
a
just
side of you
able
that you?
to like just construct how I'm feeling a lot better.
Okay. What before your kids were born? Did you hold things in?
I I think I'm just I can take a lot on,
Yeah.
and like subconsciously I don't think like it's having a big effect, but it's something I learned last year when I had the seizures. Like, I was
Well.
probably taking on a lot in my head, and I didn't
Yeah.
even realize it was. I didn't feel stressed, but subconsciously it's too much on the body.
Yeah. And that kind of leads perfectly into what I was going to ask you anyway straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done for well done for leading us in there,
There we
mate.
go. Plug.
That's seamless. So you've done this before.
Yeah.
Now you've mentioned seizures. Now we've learnt there with you. You've had a pretty organic
Yeah.
segue into bodybuilding, coaching. You've built up these businesses. You're a dad. You've had struggles getting to this point as well in
Yeah.
fatherhood, but you're being open about that, which is great. But to add into the mix, across under 2 years, you've had
Yeah.
4 seizures, and for anyone, and that, I can say I've seen the second to last one, because
What, the
I think
video?
yeah, and I don't say this lightly. It was pretty intense to watch, but I'm glad you put it up because I think it shows the true nature. And
Do you know
I
what's
could
funny? When
go
I
on,
posted that, I was so much like, I'm gonna get so much hate on this. And
and you
like
didn't.
the apart from one comment,
Well,
there was one comment on Instagram where it was like, "You're doing this for clicks." I was like, "Yeah,
imagine, imagine,
posting myself vulnerable, pissing myself on the floor."
yeah,
Because obviously I
yeah,
saw it myself, but essentially, yeah, it's all for clicks, mate. It's all for clicks.
yeah. Just fancy putting it up. Yeah, see what could
Yeah,
happen.
like again, like to go into that video I posted was mainly just because it kind of went a little bit viral as well. Like, it got over 100 something K views, and the
Yeah,
amount like messages I got on it was like really good to see. Because there isn't much awareness about seizures and stuff like that, even not from like an epileptic background, but like just in general, like, how do you deal with them? Like, what do they look like how should you cope if someone is having one, or like what do you do? So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I posted it. Was like, I just want to just sort of spread awareness in terms of like what happened to me, what I was going through at the time, life changes, stresses, anything like that could potentially help.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
With that,
mm,
it's bound to be quite a sensitive and touching subject for you. It's it's not easy. It's affected your life. I know this as well from our
yeah.
conversations and obviously what you've put out there on Instagram. When did you have your first one? And obviously between that one and your fourth, what was sort of the gap between them, and how did that sort of create this
So
world of uncertainty?
the first one was last year,
Yeah,
February 8th, 2024. I was in prep 6 weeks out from a show.
yeah,
That's the video.
yeah,
That's the video. So if anyone wants to go and watch it, they can. It's on my Instagram. Just scroll down my reels. But that was the first. So I was in prep 6 weeks out from a show. Prep was smooth. Like, it was the easiest prep I've ever done. And I don't say that lightly. Like, me and Tim were just like, this is this is easy. Like,
Yeah.
weight's falling down, food's high, cardio's relatively low. Cool. Yeah, like I was 6 weeks out. And I think I was doing like 30 minutes cardio 5 times a week. Like, it
That's
was
wicked.
bliss.
For
I
anyone
was
else
like,
that realizes that's a good turnout. Yeah.
mate, it was like bliss.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I went to the gym on a Thursday morning. I was training in. I think I left my house at 5:30 in the morning to get there for 6 when it opened. Trained, like I would do any other day, and then basically, yeah, halfway through my session. Obviously, I can't remember anything before this, but yeah, all I remember, I was on the pet deck. I think I was on my second to last exercise, and then I just woke up and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" But I was in agony. Like,
Yeah.
at the time, I didn't realize, but I basically had torn all my muscles in my back. So I basically like grade 2 tears all over my back. They found out, but there was people trying to hold me down. I was like conscious but not conscious. Like, I could hear things, but I was apparently like moving around. I was like swinging people out my way, fighting people, like trying to get off me. Paramedics had to calm me down. They gave me like, I think they gave me like just some gas and stuff like that to try and get my oxygen and those sorts of things.
Yep.
And yeah, I was taken to hospital. And obviously, I'm assisted, so I told them everything I was taking. And obviously, the natural reaction for paramedics like, stop that shit, like just don't do it. Typical sort of like, well, that's
That's an uneducated response. Yeah.
yeah. And I spoke to a natural doctor, like someone who's like very well glued up. And he said basically it's none of those things you're taking.
Really?
Like, he was pretty adamant it wasn't. Even so, I basically told him, because I was on test, I was on Mastron, I was on clenbuterol, T3, T4. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think I might have been on trend, but it was like 50 milligrams. It was like, it wasn't anything crazy. Again, I told him all those sorts of things, and then yeah, so that all happened. I was supposed to be on medication after that. Didn't get any medication. They were like, oh no, they were like, oh, it's just one. Like, I'm sure it won't happen again. And then I had another one 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I was 4 weeks out at that point. I was like, well, prep's done. Prep's. I trust me when I say, like, I'm a stubborn twat. Like, after the first seizure, I tried going back and training and doing steps again. I think I had about 5 days off. Tim was like, mate, just rest up. Do not train.
Of course, yeah.
And then I started to feel better. I was like, oh, okay, like maybe I can go back. I think it got to about a week later. I went back in the gym. And then, yeah, another week later, I then had another one. And I was 4 weeks out at that point. I was just like, yeah, my body's done. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
And obviously I was frustrated, but I wasn't as upset. Like, I was so annoyed that I was so close. But I was like, do you know what? Like, I've got kids now. Like, my house, it's always going to take priority.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously stop prep. What did I do after that? Kind of went into like a growth phase. Built some really good tissue. Got a little bit on, obviously very much on the softer side. I think because after that second seizure happened, I couldn't move. Like, my body was in absolute bits. My back got worse. That back injury basically took like 9 months to recover in total.
Yeah.
So I just had to find ways to train around it. But like, steps wise, I could barely manage like 4 to 5k if I was lucky. So activity was like non-minimum. So obviously I put on weight. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was eating food, whatever. And yeah, like then again, I went into that growth phase. And I was like, after like that 10-month period after the seizures, I was like, God, I've put on a lot of muscle here. I was like, I should have a seizure more often.
Muscle building tool, yeah.
And then this year, I was in prep again.
Yeah.
I was, funny enough, 6 weeks out from my show, and I got ill from 4 weeks. I must have basically, kids got hands, foot, and mouth for the second time.
Yep.
And I don't think I had that, but I got ill around the same time, and my hands were like really itchy.
Yeah.
But then, like, when I would train, because I was still able to train at this point, my breathing was shallow. Like, I couldn't catch my breath at all, and I had like sweats, like ridiculous sweats through the night. I was cold. I was hot. My body was aching. I think I had COVID.
Yeah.
But it was like a severe strain where it was like it lasted for about 4 weeks. Me and Tim tried resting. He told me no training, no cardio. We brought food down to try and combat the fact I wasn't training, because obviously I was 6 weeks out. And we're trying to bring weight down. We then tried a few high days and zero training, zero cardio. We tried going back to training and doing cardio with low food and high food. Basically, whatever I did, my scale was just going up and up and up. And it went from like 193 pound to, I think it got to like 204 within the space of like 10 days.
Really?
And it was just like, my body was just dead. Like, it just wasn't responding. So we pulled prep, had a 6-week period of just chilling, like just training as I could, eating some good food, staying relatively tidy. So I think I put on like maybe £5, £6.
Okay.
And I was like, right, okay. And me and Tim were like, Tim was like, said to me, like, do not prep unless you really want to. And I said, mate, I want to prep. Like, this is what I want to do. Will you support me? And he was like, yeah, of course, but I am conscious. So Tim's always been like, mate, I do not care about you stepping on stage. I care about your health. Like, Tim's very much like that, and I love that about him. But we re-enter prep, and then 2 weeks after we re-entered, I had another one.
Yeah.
Another seizure, and then I basically woke up on the sofa. Gabby found me in the on the floor, basically just convulsing. Pissed myself again. That's fantastic.
Again, so for anyone that doesn't understand, obviously you lose control of your body. You have no idea about what you're doing.
Zero control. You wake up, you feel basically. Doctors always tell me it's like your body runs a marathon in the space of like 2-3 minutes. Like your body's just like constantly convulsing, fitting. So yeah, my seizures, just to clarify, are tonic-clonic. Okay. So they're not absent seizures where you just sort of stare into a blank space and the lights are on but no one's home.
Right.
It's like very much. So mine are tonic-clonic is basically convulsions or like fitting or anything along that nature.
That's the same as what my mum's had.
Yeah.
So I spoke to you about this, but what intrigued me is that you haven't been diagnosed with epilepsy, have you? And then I was almost, because I for some reason was under the impression that if you have a seizure or two in a certain space of time, you are diagnosed with epilepsy, and so she did get diagnosed with it. But you didn't, did you?
No, I even had to. Just to go back, when I was 18, I had 3 seizures as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
So how old are you now?
28.
Right. Okay.
So 10 years on, basically. And I had neurologists see me when I was 18. Yeah. I had MRIs, EEGs, ECG scans, you name it. I had whatever scan you could have. Yeah. And again, they found no signs of epilepsy. Like basically with epilepsy, from what I've been told, I might be wrong, and this is what doctors told me. They're like, if you have epilepsy, we can see inside your brain and you can see the electrical waves going off. They said to me when I was 18, you have none of that. So I was like, right, cool. I was put on epilepsy medication just to make sure, but I wasn't actually told by a doctor, this is what you've got. And they basically just put it down to stress. I was doing exams at the time. I was sleeping late. And I went on holiday and I was probably dehydrated. And they probably put it down to a mixture of things. And then after I had the second one last year, me and Gabby had to really push for an MRI because she wasn't going to give me an MRI because she said I had one 10 years ago. And I was like, yeah, that's 10 years ago, love.
Make it make sense, yeah.
And obviously, without sounding too deep, I wanted to clear, like, if it's not epilepsy, I was like, right, do I have a tumour in my brain? Is there something more sinister going on?
Well, you're going to be questioning anything, yeah.
Mate, I was literally researching everything I could. I was like, what's going on? And again, the doctor said that there was nothing what I was taking. They weren't concerned with what I was taking at all. But they were like, we can't figure out why this is happening to your brain. Because your brain, basically they said your brain's healthy. Like, it's fine. Like, there's no sign, again, of epilepsy. So, yeah, I'm still at a point where I don't know what's causing them.
What, to this day, there's still no further?
Still absolutely nothing.
Sorry to hear that.
It's frustrating. Like, don't get me wrong, like, after this one this year, I kind of hit rock bottom. I was like, I was so frustrated. I'd obviously pulled prep because I was ill. Then I re-entered prep with a little bit more optimism. Then I had a seizure. And obviously I've been trying to compete for 2 years, and then obviously I've just been held back when I've been so close. So it's not as if I've been like 12 weeks out. I've been 6, 5, 4, whatever it may be, and for whatever reason my body's just like, nah. So yeah, like, I've cried, like, I've been frustrated. I felt very low.
Of course.
I've even found myself falling out of love with bodybuilding, like, because of it. Yeah, like, I was having a conversation with Gabby the other day about it, and I was just like, am I falling out of love with bodybuilding? I'm not enjoying training. I'm finding myself vulnerable training just in case anything happens. Like, it's so hard to manage. Like, do I push myself too hard in the gym? Like, is that it? Like, am I causing too much strain around my head? It's your mind does a million thoughts.
And the thing is as well, because we're so in tune. You're similar to me. Train balls to the wall, and it's built in us. Not everyone does that, but I'm always going in thinking, like, how can I make myself feel?
What can I achieve today? Like,
Yeah,
how can I bet myself? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And with that comes really intense training as well.
yeah. This is it, man.
But yeah, with you, if I was in your shoes as well, I'd be questioning anything, everything and anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
To hear from doctors that we're not sure what's causing them, and then I didn't even know that you had them 10 years ago as well. So that's even more baffling to think, like,
So yeah,
from a young age as well.
when I was 18, I had two when I turned 18, like very
Mad.
much again in close proximity.
Yeah.
The very first one I ever had, my mum and dad told me it was like I was possessed. Like
Really?
my eyes were rolled back. My dad's 6'4" and my brother's 6'5", and I was living at home with mum and dad at this point. They tried holding me down. I apparently threw them off me. Basically,
Yeah.
I went through my brother's bed headboard. Like,
Wow.
apparently, it was
Okay.
just like superhuman strength.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that's also what the doctors say. It's like you almost, because you have no control of your body, it's like you've got super strength. Like, your body just is so like fixated on just moving, like nothing stops it. So yeah, I crashed into I had like built-in wardrobes in my old bedroom. Like, I crashed into those. I was running around the house. I was and when the paramedics at the time found me when I was 18, they were like, with a seizure, a lot of the time, like, you're trying to find somewhere where it's comfortable,
Yeah.
like to then relax and come out of it. But with me, I was in so much pain because I dislocated my shoulder in the seizure.
Yeah.
So I've dislocated this one twice in two seizures, because I dislocated it, recovered, put it back in, then I had another seizure a week or so later, pulled it out again. So this one's pretty like weak in all comparison. And then obviously the other few seizures I've had later down the years, I've had grade 2 tears on my back, and now I've had 2 torn rotator cuffs either side. So, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating, but again, it's like, the way I look at it is like, look, there is so many worse things going on in the world. Like, it is what it is.
I know, but don't ever let that, what's the term? Lessen what you're going through, because it's all
I'm
person
always just trying to
dependent.
find, like, I think this was what like frustrated me the most. Like, after this last one,
Yeah.
was I always try and see the positive in absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, if this happens, I'm going to do this. I'm going to compete at the end of this year, or I'm going to do this, and eventually it just tires you out, because that's what you're always thinking about. You're always thinking like positively about,
If this, then that. Yeah.
yeah, if this, I'm going to do this. If this, and then eventually it doesn't happen, and then you're even worse off. And I think at that point, I was drained. Like, I'd almost like just checked out, like, mentally and physically. So,
well, equally as well, for your family around, especially
mate,
Gabby, like having to go through this with you, it must be
it's not even
heartbreaking.
like, for me as well. Like, obviously Gabby sees how frustrated I am, but last year I got banned from driving. Gabby has to drive everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's frustrating as well, because, like, she
Having
wants to
your independence pulled away. Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to do things like by herself. She's worried about leaving me at home.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, just to go back, the second seizure last year. So that's the first ever seizure I've had where I felt it coming on.
Really?
But I didn't know at the time it was coming on.
Right. So when you say for anyone listening that might be wondering how could you, and these are hard to predict, but what could you potentially say to them if there were warning signs?
I'll explain the story. I put my kids down for lunch in the kitchen. It's an open plan kitchen living room, so I'm literally only an arm's length away. Put them to have some food. I sat down on the sofa, and I was like, I feel a bit fuzzy. Like, thought I was a bit nauseous, a bit sick. And all of a sudden, I don't know how to describe this. It felt like my face was dropping.
Yeah.
Like, I felt I was losing sensation down here. And, like, at the same time, I was getting cramp in my jaw. So my face was coming down, my jaw was going up like that.
Yeah.
And it was just getting cramp, like more cramp, more cramp, more cramp. And I was getting excruciating pain behind my eyes, to the point where I couldn't see. Like, my eyes had checked out, they were black.
Yeah.
So I was literally like this, like that. I couldn't see anything.
It's insane.
And then within 10 seconds, I was out. But the pain, oh God, it scares me to this day, because it's everything I think about. If I ever feel a seizure coming on again, that's how it's going to feel.
Really?
And
Unbearable.
it happened. So yeah, it happened for about 10 seconds, where my jaw was cramping, my eyes started going, my face was like, almost felt like it was shifting down towards that. It felt like I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke. I was so scared. And then obviously that feeling disappeared, because obviously I was out. Like, I didn't know what happened. Gabby had literally only just gone down the road to get her nails done for like 20 minutes. So in the space of 20 minutes, I'd had a seizure when she wasn't there, and she felt absolutely horrendous about it.
Really? And that stuck with her?
Yeah, and stuff like that. Obviously, like my mum and dad, Gabby's mum and dad, like frustrated for me and stuff like that. But the worst thing is like, it's just now I just worry about kids, like my kids and stuff, and
Of course.
like for example, I couldn't go to client shows last year because I couldn't drive. I could drive. Like I got trains, I got Ubers where I could.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I spent £300 one day on training Ubers to get to my client shows. I basically lost money because I was trying to, because I wanted to be seen. I didn't want to like lose that sense of like, oh, he's not come to my show, he doesn't care about me. It's like sometimes I physically couldn't.
yeah. But
It was like, because if
equally on that as well,
if Gabby couldn't drop me off,
yeah,
and it's not just down the road. Some of these shows are in
Yeah.
Manchester, Derby.
yeah, they're all over. Yeah,
Yeah, I had to. There was one time where I got a train. I think it was to rugby
really.
for a
Yeah,
UK FBA show. And that was alright. That was like £50. But by the time the show had finished, because you know what those shows are like, it was 11 o'clock. There were no trains anymore, and it was like, I think it was a Sunday as well, or something. So I had to pay for an Uber, and that was about £150 back.
it's insane. And this is the things that people don't see as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's normal practice as well for coaches always to get cabs, but that was your situation. You had to do that. But and again, I know it's not what we're talking about now, but on that side of the coaching scene, this is what people don't see, that clients do pay a monthly fee, but they're not always funding your trips abroad, your trips to all these shows across a year. So it's a lot of the time you could be out of pocket.
100%. You can
so
lose. I know for a lot of big coaches who are going abroad every week, they're losing money. And in my opinion, I think if you're an athlete, you should at least offer to pay for an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Or pay for their ticket.
There should be some collaboration on that. Yeah.
Even if it's not abroad, pay for their ticket. Even offer, because so a lot of coaches, they'll say, "No, it's fine."
Yeah.
But like a couple of clients this year have competed, or was it last year? Either or, like they've offered to pay for my ticket to come to their show. And I'm like,
yeah, that's lovely.
That's lovely. Like, you don't have to. I really, really appreciate it. And then like, no sound. Like, here you go.
Yeah, and that's a good showing to you. And obviously, I'm not saying there's no disrespect to anyone else, because obviously that's each to their own. But it's just having that awareness that you don't know what's going on in people's lives as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when not even before the kids had won, like I said, I went to 16 shows across the year back to back, 25 shows or 27 shows in total.
Yeah.
And, I'm away from my kids from like 8:30 in the morning till like 11 at night, because a lot of those shows were UKFBA, WNBF.
They just run for hours.
The only shows that were on time were Two Bros or PCA. And even PCA was a little bit late every now and then.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm there checking them, like, I'm treating it, posing like it was a job, like it was coaching. So I was checking over posing clients every every hour and a half when they're on when it's on show day before they step on. So it's it's, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that, like love this industry and love the job and everything like that. Love the people you meet, but sometimes I don't think people realise how much money or what's going on out in their lives before they ask them to come to an abroad show or pay for all this, etc.
They are normal humans as well. It's not just a coach that you can go to and expect the world. Sadly, it's it's not the way it is. But it's a good point, mate. And just again on the seizure side of things, it must put you now in. I can't imagine how you must worry. Like it must play on your mind a lot. Like I'll be honest, I didn't. Do I say I'm grateful for that? I don't know, but I was never present when Mum had her seizures.
Yeah.
Like I was always away, and it was other family members here with her. She had so many in a short space of time. She was diagnosed with epilepsy, and she's been medicated ever since. Hasn't had one, touch wood. But she lost, similar to the driving, she lost her license for 1.5 years, and that was 1.5 years of me and my partner and my sister driving her everywhere. And she had to use that charity People to Places to get her to her charity work that she did. But it completely changes. It can change someone's life.
What's the word, like? You just feel inadequate. Like you feel like I felt like I was a burden on Gabby.
That's exactly how she felt
all the time. Like, I need to go here. We're going to see these people. I'm driving again. Yeah, it's like, of course she's going to do it because she loves me, etc. But it's still tough.
Yeah,
it's still like like she said she doesn't resent me, but
no, I know.
She resents the fact I had a seizure because it's like, and that's completely normal. And sometimes it's not just about you; it's about the other people it affects as well.
Yeah, it is, mate. And
like, even Gabby seeing me have a seizure is probably fairly traumatic.
Like you said, that 20 minutes, now that's embedded, being like, oh my God, I don't want to leave ever again.
Yeah,
like, exactly, in that sense.
Exactly. She said that before.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how that feels. But are you taking medication now? Are you
Yeah,
trying
so
to?
I've been on medication since the second one last year.
Okay,
Because obviously they were in very close proximity to each other, so they were like, right, we need to get a hold of this now.
okay,
So I was initially on 150,
okay.
which was the recommend. No, sorry, 125 I was on, and that was a recommended amount. And then I had another one in June, like a brief one. That one was
Yeah,
actually alright. That was like a minor one, but again, it was still like another one. And then they again revisited that. Right, okay, so 125 is like the average male. They actually bigged me up. They were like, "You're bigger than the average guy."
yeah.
So we actually need to give
Jeez,
you
yeah,
we need to give you a little bit more because like your muscle mass and everything like that is a lot more than what the average kind of Joe is. So then they give me 200,
yeah,
and ever since then, well, obviously I have the seizure now,
yeah.
um, but they haven't said they're going to up my medication yet. So
Okay,
because they said if you just have one and you don't have any more, then the medication's still fine technically. But the problem is if they up it too much by even the smallest amount that I don't actually need, or too low that I
yeah,
don't actually need, I will have more and more and more because it's
okay.
such a fine line. Like the medication can actually go too far where
Yeah,
it induces more seizures. So it's a very much like it has to.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the scale has to be exactly bang on.
yeah.
Otherwise, you potentially could have more. So
Okay,
they said because I've had such a long run of being on
yeah,
200 without and only having one, they were like, we don't need to just up it just yet.
yeah. No,
So
I get you. Look, it's a scary situation you must have been in for all of these, and I do appreciate you opening up about these on here because it's not. Look, I knew that we would touch upon these things. I wanted to get some of this out of you,
yeah,
but it's that I think the main another takeaway here is you can't necessarily guarantee that you're going to know when they're coming. Like it's a
no,
scary, but
yes.
with the one that you did like see, or you saw something happen, you didn't know it's going to be that, but you saw
Mhm.
like what is this
It's even
happening to
like
me?
what I've noticed more so off this last one.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's related to the seizure. I personally think it is. I
yeah.
get excruciating headaches now.
Do
Like
you?
headaches that I've never had before. Every time I have one, I'm like, I'm gonna have a seizure.
Okay,
Like that's
this
how
is
bad they get.
it's like the panic now. Yeah,
Yeah. Even if I'm watching TV
yeah.
or my laptop, sometimes my eyes go fuzzy.
Right.
Like we went out to London. We're at a rooftop bar last night,
Yeah,
and went out to a bar after that. And obviously it was a hot day, so I've got sunglasses on me. I
yeah,
had to
yeah,
put the sunglasses on at night, pitch black, because the lights in the club or the bar were hurting my eyes that much. I've
really.
never ever had those sorts of things before. So
Yeah,
I think since the seizure, like my body's kind of adjusted in a different way.
yeah,
So yeah, it looked like I was, a blind man. I was wearing sunglasses at night, all black glasses.
yeah,
Um, and obviously, yeah, but as soon as I put the glass on, my adjustment to my eyes was fine.
yeah.
So I don't know, and I've never ever had those sorts of things before, like to do with my eyes or whatever. So, or the headaches. The headaches are probably the more worrying ones I have.
So I mean, so it has, there are knock-on effects to all of this
Yeah,
now with you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not nice, and you again, you probably didn't anticipate these things, coming into your life now, having to do things like that, and worrying about headaches, worrying about
yeah,
lights and things like that. And probably you even thinking like worrying about your partner going out without you, in that
yeah,
sense
yeah.
sometimes,
It
and,
took
and
me.
vice
This is the thing.
versa.
It took me a good amount of time to feel normal after
Yeah,
last year, and then obviously I
yeah,
was like, find myself like we got engaged last year, and that was probably the one good thing to come out of that year.
yeah,
It's like, oh, 2025 is gonna be such a better year. You're gonna compete. You're gonna like you're procedure free. We're gonna move house. We're going to, and then that's how you start the
straight
year.
away. Yeah,
And it's just, and that's what's led me to being so frustrated and just like having a cry here and there because I was just like just mentally exhausted.
I know.
Just like trying to just like I said, like you'll see across my Instagram, I'm always positive. I'm always trying to,
You are a
if
very positive guy. Yeah,
I'm always posting like, yeah, cool, this won't define me. Da, 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 we'll keep going. We'll do this like, and after a while, that does just grind you
yeah.
down. And I think that's it's normal to accept that as well.
Of course it is, and it's look, you
Because you
can't
know
as
what's
much as
funny
you
as well.
go on.
Sorry, just quickly.
No, go on.
Um, this is mental, but in my head, right, every time I've tried prepping, I've felt like such a failure, and I feel like other people think, God, this guy's prepping again, and he's not going to step on stage, without them knowing like sort of the full story.
Well,
So,
this is
and
it.
this is what I mean. So this is why now, like, if I mention that I didn't compete on a prep or whatever on a post, I'm always feel like I have to mention the medical history.
Yeah.
Because it's like, otherwise people just don't take me seriously as a quote unquote bodybuilder or an athlete.
I mean, it's like we're holding ourselves to standards of people that we don't even know sometimes.
Mate,
it's
that's what I mean.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Again, it's the social media world.
Yeah,
And that's unhealthy in itself as well, having to, justify everything we do or do not do,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so unhealthy. But don't ever feel like you have to justify, things in your life.
I don't give a fuck like what people think of me. Like I couldn't care less. Like if people like me, they like me. That's really nice. But if they don't, that's fine. Like, I'm like no one's not going to like everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I always think about is like, oh, how's this going to affect work? How's this going to look? Because obviously you want to be seen as a certain person for your job, so that you can, because everyone wants more money, everyone wants to be more successful, everyone wants to have a more, better quality of life, etc., that they enjoy.
And especially with your job, you are the front of your business. You are your business. So,
exactly.
I understand, but remember first and foremost, health is your priority. And
so I will compete at some point. Just who knows?
We know you will. We know you will. We know you will back up on the stage again. You still got.
The only thing I do think about now is winning my IFB Pro card and it all being worth it.
Yeah. When you look back and see how far you've come and all these little trials and tribulations that have amounted to so much, when they're added together, you're gonna look back and be like, yeah, I'm glad I reached this point now.
I'm still standing,
yeah, exactly
I'm
that.
Still standing.
Well, look, we've been running for a while, and that's what I'm saying. There's so much depth to these conversations. And I would love to have you on again to talk more, because there's so much in the bodybuilding world as well that I think we can tap into, just the mental effects. I was speaking to Josh about this, the mental effects, of being a coach, an athlete, how you balance it. Because the bodybuilding lifestyle isn't healthy, really, in the grand scheme of things, but we all love it for some reason.
I think it's that though, isn't it? It's just because it's so mentally challenging in so many different ways.
Yeah,
like, I remember there was a post that Callum Raystrick put up yesterday, and it was about like, so you want to be a prep coach, and he was basically listing all the things he's done, like the endless nights. Are
you sure you want to be one? Yeah,
the setting your alarms at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, 2 a.m when you've got clients abroad, flying to shows, being away from your families.
Yeah, it's not glamorous.
Stupid amounts of money. Like, you make a lot of money when you're at that level.
Yeah,
but you also spend an awful amount out.
Of course.
And so it's like I said, it's very mentally challenging in a lot of different ways that people don't realise.
Yeah.
It's not just like 9 to 5, you go to bed.
Yeah.
I was out in London yesterday, I was still replying to my clients. If that was other people working 9 to 5, they'd just be out enjoying their job.
Yeah, clock off, done.
Enjoying their day and they're done for the day.
Yeah.
It's like you're always talking to your clients and always trying to make sure they're all right or they're happy, or
because you've got people relying on you. Yeah.
You don't want to be seen as like you're not taking them seriously as well. So there's all these other little things that go into it as well.
We'll tap into that in a part 2 down the line, because there's so much to that. And again, with this podcast is for everyone, just so we can listen to stories, feel like we're not alone, and in the hope that it encourages more people to talk and reach out to me, you, whoever. I want people on to talk about real stories and get the world talking a bit more. So if we could, I'm going to try and do this with guest episodes, but and I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but and you have already given some advice, but if there was, for someone out there struggling, someone listening to this now that feels like they're in a bit of a rut, doesn't know what to do with themselves, or has maybe gone through similar things that you have, what would you say to them?
You need to speak to someone.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I did, I didn't even tell you this on the podcast, to be fair. I'm telling you now. I went to go see a psychologist.
Okay.
After my seizures, I paid, fair amount of money, like to go and see a psychologist, but because I had some other problems going on that I don't want to go into, but like, I wasn't myself. Let's just put it that way. And I went to go see a psychologist, and it was honestly the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Having someone who knew nothing about me, looking at me objectively and telling me, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Then I'm starting to understand me as a person, understand what I do, like the pressures of it. And what was really good about speaking to someone, it doesn't have to be a professional, but me speaking to a professional, she was able to highlight things straight away that I was like, oh my God, that's so right. And I hadn't thought of it until I spoke to someone.
Yeah, it's powerful. And
I had about 6 sessions And the only reason I stopped was just because money was becoming it was becoming a little bit like it was like £80 a time.
Yeah.
But you can find out, like, I think they range from about £50 to £8. But it doesn't have to be a psychologist. But like, just speak to someone. Don't be afraid to communicate your feelings. I think that's so
Yeah.
important. Like, if you don't, you're never ever going to feel happier because you're not opening. You're not almost like opening that door and closing it. You're
Yeah.
just everything's just behind the closed door. Like, and then all that's going to happen is more's just going to come in. More's going to come
100%.
underneath the door. Like more
And,
letters.
and then at some point you're going to explode.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're going to
Yeah.
have like you're either going to hit the blow up button where you're just
Yeah.
like what, and then everything's going to come to a head. Whether that's your job, your sleep, your relationships,
Yeah.
how you view yourself, what you do to yourself, whether that's, comfort eating or not exercising, not training, whatever it may be, like
Yeah.
not taking your work seriously, like it all feeds off each other. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just talk to someone, man. Just talk to someone. And you
Exactly.
can always,
Just like,
anyone can always chat to me, like if they want
yeah,
to chat, like for sure.
I've always opened myself up as well in that regard. I've been told sometimes that, you have to be careful of that, but I'm being serious. I just want to help people.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure. It's like my mum
it's,
and dad, absolutely love them. They're always like, "Why are you putting that on the internet? Like, why are you letting people know about your seizure?" I'm like, "Mum, because it spreads awareness."
yeah,
Like, why
exactly.
are you
And
talking about that?
I've spoken to my mum about, about I had to get her, I wanted to get her permission before I spoke about her
Mm.
issues as well on the podcast. And she was like, I'd love to come on and talk about it firsthand. I was like, see,
Yeah,
that's brilliant. I'd love that.
yeah, that'd be really cool.
So yeah, we just need more of this, mate. And I think that was a really nice point to end on. And I, again, really appreciate you having you on. We will, for anyone out there that wants to inquire with you for posing and coaching, are you actively taking people on at the minute?
Yeah, for sure, man. Always trying to take people on, for sure. So
Yeah.
Yeah, just find me at Instagram, Macauley Morrice _. You can literally just DM me and we'll have a chat, whether that's posing or posing is obviously specifically men's physique, but
Yeah.
if you're interested in coaching as well, yeah, just drop me a DM and then we can go from there.
Pop all the links in the
Appreciate
all
that.
of the boxes down below as well. So yeah, Macca, Macauley, thank you very much for you're like, don't call me that, please. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been amazing, mate. And
No
we
worries,
will
mate.
link up again in the
Pleasure.
future.
Pleasure.
Right, wicked.